More than ever nowadays, Major League Soccer is bursting at the seams with young, bright talent. With the development of youth academies across the country and the creation of incentives for clubs to import players under the age of 22, the league is slowly moving away from its quote-unquote retirement league past. Even just this winter, we saw children, and I only mean that half-jokingly, leave MLS clubs in 9-figure deals. This kind of stuff would have been unprecedented only 10 years ago. So who's got next, I hear you saying out loud to your computer? Who's poised to break out in 2023? I'm going to answer that question in this video, but I'm going to put a little twist on it. I'm not going to give you some tired names that you've heard every MLS analyst and their mother peddle for the last 12 months. I'm going to give you names of players that haven't even seen the light of day of MLSsoccer.com. Sure, I could sit here and say Kate Cowell and Tyus Magner are going to set the league alight, but where's the fun in that? Isn't it way more fun to hear me rave about the future of a kid who can't legally get behind the wheel, or some random young money player that came halfway across the globe? Yeah, I thought so. So enough intro, here are some underrated MLS youngsters that will break out in 2023. If you follow any sports accounts on social media, I'm sure you've come across videos like these. A training session of some random preteen with a ridiculous caption like, "Could he be a future star?" Usually these highlight clips are the last you'll see of these kids, but not in the case of this specific child star, Jack Panayotou. Panayotou came through the New England Revolution's academy, eventually leading their U9 team to an MLS Cup championship in 2022. He's had a stint with US youth teams as well, as he was a part of multiple U19 camps last year. Instead of signing a homegrown contract like Noah Buck and Esmir, not going to even try to pronounce the last name, did, he took an unconventional route. He committed to playing at Georgetown University as he wanted to be put in an uncomfortable situation before turning pro. At Georgetown as a freshman, he was one of their best players. Playing as a 10 as a left midfielder, he recorded 7 goals and 3 assists in 19 games. As you can probably guess, as I wouldn't be talking about him if it wasn't the case, he then signed a homegrown contract with the Revs in January. Okay, so enough about the kid's life story. How does he look like on the pitch? Looking at his tape, the thing that jumps off the screen is his technical ability. The ball glues to his feet, and he has the ability to glide past defenders with ease. And when he gets into the final third, the kid's got a rocket of a left foot, and his weak foot isn't too bad either. He's also good off the ball. With Georgetown, most of his goals were tap-ins, and that's credit to his delayed runs into the box. Combine this with his ability to receive the ball in the half turn and break lines with his passing, and you have yourself a pretty versatile player. Although he mostly played at the 10 and on the wing in college, his skill set allows him to play basically anywhere besides a 6 or on a back line. Let's not forget about the intangibles either. The kid's mentality is impressive for an 18-year-old. I mean, to be a kid who has a golden ticket to an MLS contract and decide to play in college to test yourself is impressive, to put it lightly. Although it's only preseason, that decision has been a fruitful one so far. He's played in all the Revs preseason games and has gotten significant reps with the starting group. Bruce Arena has deployed him as a central midfielder and partnered him with Latif Blessing and Carlos Hill for the most part in a 4-2-3-1 and a 3-5-2. Tape is pretty light for preseason MLS games in general, but reports coming out of Revs camp say that the former Hoya is impressing. Now, do I expect Panayotou to start day one? No. But his preseason gives me a lot of hope that his minutes will start to multiply as the season goes on. He's probably the first central midfielder off the bench right now behind Matt Polster and Blessing, and ahead of his fellow academy graduates. So a breakout season could easily be in the cards as he continues to get integrated with the team. And yes, I know Bruce Arena loves his senior citizens, but the Revs are starting to produce academy talent that he can't ignore anymore. And if Arena is experimenting with the back 3, anything is on the table.
Regarding Matai, was it a matter of you thinking he was ready or wanting to find out if he was ready?
Said he's been excellent in training and he deserves to come in. So yeah, he's 15 and yeah, I have to protect him. But I just felt he was ready to come in and play.
Last year, 15-year-old DC United homegrown Matai Akamboni made history in MLS. On September 11th, he started against Real Salt Lake and became the 3rd youngest player in league history. The 2 in front of him being Freddie Adu and some random guy named Alfonso Davies. Even more incredibly, he's a center back. To put that in perspective, before Akamboni's debut, the youngest center back to debut in MLS was a 17-year-old Eric Palmer Brown. I mean, how insane is that? Granted, DC United were getting killed with injuries late in 22, and they were absolutely garbage defensively throughout the season. But let's not take away the talent that now 16-year-old possesses. He reminds me of a young John Brooks, incredibly tall as he's 6'3", astute defensive positioning, and has a wand of a left foot. Now, looking at his tape from his 2 appearances last year, he's obviously still very raw.
And oh, that is almost a goal, but Akinboni is able to save it off the line. Or did he? He did not.
Despite his height, he's got to work on his ability in the air. He's not particularly quick, and he struggled with the speed of the game. But everything considered, those are not unexpected traits for a center back that's literally younger than you two. Now, with his first MLS season under his belt, it seems like Akinboni is shooting for a starting role in 2023. Because of numerous defensive injuries, he started every DC United preseason game so far at left center back. So it's feasible Akinboni may start week 1 for DC. However, Derek Williams, who is one of many on DC's injury list, was likely brought in to start at left center back. He will eventually get healthy, so why do I think he'll break out? 2 reasons. 1, even without injuries, DC might have the worst center back options in the league. And 2, just read number 1. As I touched on before, DC United was far and away the worst defensive team in the league last year, conceding a league worst 3.71 goal creating actions a game. A lot of that was thanks to their personnel or lack thereof, as their best center back was a 32-year-old Steve Birnbaum. Speaking of, guess who their best center back option is this year? It's Steve Birnbaum again. Their only notable acquisition this offseason at center back was the left-footed Williams, who, at 30, has never really looked like a solid starter in MLS. So Akinboni, the only other left-footed center back on the roster, has a decent shot of making a starting spot his own. Now, does that say more about DC than it does about Akinboni? Partially yes and partially no. Yes, DC's backline is about as protective as this stadium's security, but Akinboni's asset as a progressive passer does fill a need for them. Last season, DC completed the fewest amount of progressive passes in the league and had the 4th worst long-range pass completion percentage. Put Akinboni in, and I think those numbers start to get a little easier on the eyes.
What he's doing, I don't know if we will see another player do the things that he does.
He's a one-off.
Plays with such elegance.
He never, ever let you down as a great player.
The Brawl scores for the Galaxy.
He's probably the best in the world.
This offseason, LAFC splashed some cash, around $7 million to be exact, to pick up 20-year-old Croatian left winger Stipe Biuk. Despite many sources saying that this signing was a steal, there's not many people talking about it for some reason. Well, who am I kidding? I do know the reason. It's because this type of move has become normal for LAFC. For basically any other MLS club, this would be a guy to build an attack around. Biuk was nominated for last year's Golden Boy Award, and there's a good reason why. He's just a walking highlight reel. Close control, the quick turns of pace, the tricks and flicks, he has it all. His ability in the final third isn't fully there yet, and apparently he has some character flaws, but his talent is palpable. But unfortunately for him, he's got Dennis Bouanga to compete with for minutes, who's getting a bunch of reps in preseason and taking the most of them. He's performing so well that some LAFC fans have already christened him a dark horse MVP candidate. But here's the thing. LAFC are going to have a packed schedule to start the year, and you bet Steve Cherundolo is going to go all out for CCL. So Biuk is going to get minutes to start the year, that's for sure. It's up to him to see if he can make a name for himself. It's definitely in the realm of possibility that Biuk plays his way into becoming undroppable, and Cherundolo ends up playing Bouanga centrally. I mean, that's exactly how they linked up for this goal in preseason. We've seen raw, young prospects come to MLS and develop into stars. Why not Biuk?
Down, Wilson, Joelinton, here's Bruno with a touch, now Almiron!